Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show. And today, really, it's all about the quarterbacks, all about the quarterbacks at Ohio State. As Bill Bender of the Sporting News, national correspondent for the Sporting News, and I discuss at the end of this show, maybe the Ohio State quarterback position is the most coveted in college football at the moment. Definitely the hottest position, considering the way Will Howard left it, leading the Buckeyes on a four-game unforgettable uh, winning run to the 2024 national championship. And of course, Will Howard's gone. He's preparing for the NFL draft. His stock rose dramatically. Do believe in those four games. We'll see where he ends up in the draft. He's got a pro day coming up at Ohio State the end of this month. But the bottom line is, the Ohio State quarterback position is wide open again, just like it's been the last couple of years. And vying for that position are third-year man Lincoln Kienholz, former all-sports star from Pierre, South Dakota. Second-year man Julian Sayin, who transferred, as you know, after signing out of Carlsbad, California, with Alabama, transferred at the beginning of last year after Nick Saban abruptly retired. Considered one of the top quarterback prospects in the country, if not number one, in the 2024 recruiting class, transferred to Ohio State, Elite 11 star, etc. And then, of course, Tavien St.Clair, the freshman from Bellefontaine, Ohio, a home state product looking to make good. The guy's been committed to Ohio State for a couple of years and is now on campus. Heck, he was on campus almost as much as the players the last couple of years, but now he's in competition, perhaps for the starting job. But as I got into this show, I pretty much left out Tavien St. Clair in terms of one-on-one or straightforward interviews, only because being the youngest man in the room, you got to figure he's got a lot more to learn than these other two guys. And while a lot of people are already handing the job to Julian Sayin, I'm talking about a lot of people outside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center think he's the heir apparent. Uh, Lincoln Kienholz, as we discuss later in this show, Lincoln Kienholz has transformed himself not only as a passer and sort of a playmaker quarterback. He's probably definitely the best runner of the three in terms of wanting to make something happen with his feet, but he's become a really good passer over the last 2 years, and he's gotten much larger as he discusses in his little portion. He's gone up almost 30 pounds since showing up, looking more like maybe a baseball center fielder or shortstop than a starting quarterback in a Power Four conference school. But to set things sort of in perspective headed into the spring, as Billy Fessler, the elevated and now the elevated quarterback coach who worked with the quarterbacks last year, he's now the true quarterbacks coach. He kind of puts things, like I said, in perspective in terms of where this race is right now, which is, in essence, right out of the starting gate. So let's go first to a few words from Billy Fessler. Decide who the starter was, and now you can tell us?
I was not. I appreciate the question, but no. There's just a lot of moving parts going on right now.
Bill, how close is this competition as you jump into spring? Or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think that we're just a long way away from even talking about how close it is. Right now, those three guys are really just focused on getting better every single time they step in this building, in meeting rooms, step out on the field on practice, and that's really the goal, is just finding a way to improve every single time that we're out here, to finding a way to develop some consistency. I thought going out there today, all three of them did stuff that at points throughout practice we get really excited about, and that was awesome to see. Now, we've got a long way to go because it's about doing consistently, and there was other times in practice where all three of them had plays that they probably wish they had back. So it's such an important time of the year, and it's so exciting for those guys to continue to grow and get these opportunities every time that they walk out on the field, to get a little bit better, and it's going to be really critical to their development.
Now let's get some thoughts from Lincoln Kienholz, the oldest guy in the room, going into his third year. When he showed up at Ohio State back then, he was in essence looked like a project, but a talented project. He played all kinds of sports in Pierre, South Dakota, his hometown. Now that he's majoring in football, anybody can see he's gotten bigger and stronger over the last couple of years, and especially over this past winter under the work of Mickey Marotti and staff. But bottom line is where he thinks he fits in, because he's more the athlete of these three, the guy that you would call more of a running threat probably in his brain, but he's become much better passer, and his athletic ability overall is unquestioned. So let's get a few thoughts from Lincoln Kienholz.
I mean, I'd say right now it's really just trying to get into the room early, watching film, and then really just staying on top of your stuff as well. And then, I mean, also just be the guy your teammates can look up to make a play on 4th and 2 or whatever it is. So.
And then I asked Julian, you guys watched Tavien and Will get really close last year, be really good friends, but also really good competitors. What did you guys learn from the dynamic that you guys can take into this year's football competition?
I'd say that really we can use each other to kind of just get each other better, I guess. And that was something that I kind of noticed with Devin and Will, was just that they were always asking each other questions and always making sure that we were doing the right thing. So.
Lincoln, how do you show that you're the toughest guy on the team when nobody can touch you in practice?
I'd say mentally. I mean, you got to be on your stuff on the field. You got to make the play when your name's called. And, I mean, we're still lifting. Just got to be a leader out there. So.
It's that you can bring to the competition to make yourself stand out from the others?
I mean, I'd say probably use my feet when I can. And also just make the routine plays routinely.
Lincoln, you look like you've spent a year or so with Mickey Marotti now. Do you feel much bigger? I mean, explain how much you've transformed in the last year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, just this last year, this winter off season, I've gotten stronger. Then throughout the season last year, I was lifted an extra day as well. So, I mean, just put myself in the best position to be successful.
Did you feel you were a little light coming in? I mean, as a quarterback, I mean, obviously you played every sport I think y'all played out there in Pierre.
Honestly, I felt small. I was 185 pounds, and now I'm like 212, 210, around there. So, yeah.
What are the biggest things you just feel like you've kind of grown when you go back from year 1 to year 2 and now year 2 to year 3? How do you feel like you've been the biggest step in your development in that process?
I would say my confidence and leadership a little bit. I mean, just the past 2 years, like I've had older guys in front of me, and just getting to learn from them on how to be a leader and how to take control of the huddle and things like that. And now I'm the oldest guy in the room, so I kind of feel that now, and I kind of feel more confident and feel like I need to be a leader for the quarterback room.
Is there a responsibility that comes with that when you are the oldest guy in the room to feel like you have to be that guy who steps up as a leader?
I feel it, yeah, for sure.
How weird is that to you, that you're the oldest guy?
It feels weird because I mean, honestly, it goes by so quick. It's crazy. I've been here for 2 years now, and it doesn't feel like it at all. So it's different for sure.
What do you think Coach Day wants to see out of you, specifically, Lincoln, this spring?
I would say be more a leader. I mean, I said earlier, just be a guy that your teammates can look up to on 4th and 2 to go make a play, get the first down, keep the drive going, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then also be more consistent and I guess take care of the ball.
Is there pressure every day in this kind of competition? How would you describe that aspect of it, of knowing you've almost got to be, maybe perfect's maybe the wrong word, but on point?
I mean, yeah, there's always pressure. I mean, just being a quarterback here at Ohio State, there's always going to be pressure, but I think pressure's a privilege. So,
like I said, Lincoln Kienholz has gotten bigger, stronger, faster, and more mature. You can just tell by some of the conversation there. He's pretty low key, doesn't say a whole lot, but he's put in his work now, and he's ready to take advantage of it. And Julian Sayin's been here, since January of last year, so well over a year after first signing with Alabama out of Carlsbad, California. And then, like we said earlier, once Nick Saban announced his retirement, he suddenly put himself on the free agent market about 3 weeks after being at Alabama and wound up at Ohio State. He was considered one of the elite quarterbacks in the country in the 2024 class. Anybody who watches him throw the ball knows that of the three, there's no doubt about who has a quicker release. whatever that means, right? You still got to be accurate. You still got to know where you're throwing the ball. But there's no doubt, man, with the way he has his shoulders forward a lot when he's throwing the ball, he really gets into it, and that's where he really shines. But let's just get a few of his random thoughts going into this spring, this competition, where most people consider him, like I said, most people consider him the favorite. Where does he consider himself? Well, like he said, there's a ways to go here, but you'd be a fool not to say you're not trying to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State for 2025. So let's hear a few thoughts from Julian Sayin.
Come along vocally as a leader over last year, especially getting the chance to watch Will and how he operated last year.
Yeah, Will was a really great leader for this team, and it was fun to watch. I mean, he was someone who everyone kind of could relate to and liked by everyone. I think if you went around the Woody and asked about Will Howard, everyone would have good things to say about him. So I think that's something that I'm trying to take that approach.
How did easy?
It's definitely not easy, but it's something that we're working on.
Are you liked by everyone?
I hope so. You try to when you're in the building, you try to leave a good impression or impact on everyone in the building. So
I was talking Monday about how the quarterback has to be the first guy in and the last guy out. All of those kind of cliches. Is that something that you've always kind of held on to and tried to be, or is that something that you've had to learn to do over time? And is that something that you learned from Will?
Yeah, definitely something I learned from Will. And Coach Day's been instilling in our quarterback room that, you got to be the toughest guys on the team, got to be the hardest workers. And that goes to Coach Mick, too, being in the weight room, just being tough guys.
Julian, what's it like knowing somebody's probably watching every move you make? You understand what I'm saying? And keeping tabs on everything, because like Coach Day said, you guys are judged from the first day you show up here, really.
Yeah.
Are you leading? Are you doing the little things, etc.? What's that like?
I think
living that fishbowl.
Kind of with when you're at a big time program like Ohio State, I think everyone's judged. Everything you do is important. How your locker looks is important. All the small details.
What is it like when you hear people calling you basically the heir apparent? I mean, a lot of people think you're going to be the guy. What do you think you have to prove over the next several weeks and then preseason to get that job?
I don't listen to the outside noise. I'm just focused on getting better every day. Getting ready for Friday's practice, just improving on practice 3.
I was going to kind of ask the same question, that how do you handle that, like having that many people here to watch a practice, or walking around in Columbus when you know that the quarterback's probably the most judged position maybe in all of college football?
I think, kind of like I said before, I'm really just focused on the fundamentals and improving every day and just getting better. And taking what Coach Day, Coach Mick, and Coach Fessler are bringing to us in the quarterback room.
When do you think you have to get better? Are there a couple areas of emphasis this spring?
Yeah, I think this winter I've gained a little bit of weight and gotten stronger, so that was a big point of emphasis in the winter. And really just focusing on just getting bigger and stronger. I gained about 10 pounds this offseason. So.
How much better? Like last year, you weren't quite physically ready. How ready do you feel physically now?
I feel good now. Just being a little bit heavier, and it was good. It was big thanks to Coach Mick in this offseason.
How do you think of being the starting quarterback at Ohio State? What does that look like to you? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's definitely the goal, but we're still a long ways away from it. We got 15 practices and just getting better.
What should that person look like, I guess?
Yeah, I think the toughest guy, first guy in, last guy out, kind of like everyone says, and being that leader of the offense.
Watching you throw, I think one of the
What stood out with you last year about Billy Fessler, what he was able to do with the quarterbacks? How much did you specifically enjoy with that?
Yeah, he had so much impact on our quarterback room last year. Him and Coach Kelly both did a great job with us, and I was really appreciative of those guys. We worked closely with Coach Fessler, and I was happy to see him get elevated.
How much different do you feel? You talked about putting on weight, but we talked to you a year ago during spring practice. You were just getting here. You come from Alabama. How much different a year later do you feel in this program as a quarterback, all this stuff?
Yeah, I think when I first got here, I was still learning how everything works and learning what you're doing. And now I think I would know what I'm doing within the plays or within how the program works. So I think it's been good to just get adjusted, but still trying to improve.
And when you talk about toughest guy, first one in, last one out, there's 2 other guys that are trying to do that, right? how do you be that guy when two other guys know that that's what they also are trying to do to win that job?
Yeah, I think it's our room is very competitive, but we're also very close. It's only three guys in our room, so I think it's important for us to just be close, but also competitive.
Was it important for you to be able to watch?
Go ahead.
Watching you throw, one of the biggest things that stands out, I think, is how quick your release is and still how much zip you can get on the balls. How did you develop that quick motion?
I think I've naturally had a kind of a quick release, and coming out of high school, I always just kind of had a quick release, and I've been trying to get it quicker.
Indeed, it's the quickest release on the lot. I don't think there's any debate about that. Even the quarterback's coach, Billy Fessler, spoke of that. But, what a competition. These are three young men of high quality and high caliber, and they're going to be going at it this spring for what Bill Bender of the Sporting News thinks is the most coveted quarterback position in college football at this point. It's bounced around from other schools, but there's no doubt about Ohio State. And over the last couple of decades, but definitely the last 10 years, this quarterback position has taken you places and taken the team places when the guys are playing well, because we'll talk about weapons that surround these quarterbacks, the possible starter later on this spring, but definitely most quarterbacks in the country, they would pay, instead of taking NIL pay, they'd probably pay to be the quarterback at Ohio State. So without further ado, in finale, let's get to my conversation with my great friend, Bill Bender, great friend of the Tim May Show. But he and I talk sports a lot. We just happen to do it this time so y'all can listen. Oh, man, look who I ran into, ladies and gentlemen, at Ohio State's number 2 spring football practice. But, of course, a man of national stature in the world of journalism, sports journalism, Bill Bender. You live in Pickerington, but you're a national presence. Of course, you'd be coming by here. This is Ohio State, second spring practice in defense of their national title, which is the banners hanging up over my right shoulder. And as Ryan Day said, a new day has dawned, man. What they did last year doesn't mean anything about what they're going to do this year. But what was just your first impression watching Ohio State?
Well, Tim, as you know, you see the banner in the back, and that you wonder what the point is where we move on. And you can see how competitive practice is. A lot of new faces, coaching staff especially, you're starting to get to know them. And of course, as we always do, when a quarterback like Will Howard leaves, you focus on the three guys that are out in practice now. You mentioned Lincoln looks a lot like he's been in the weight room. St.Clair, the size stands out. And then Julian Sayin, you've got a guy that is the favorite, I think. They won't say.
Most people think, we
say,
all think, but you never know, right?
But he's another guy that we're all interested to see and talking about more than just his release as a quarterback.
Yeah. It's funny, Bill, because I've been through a lot of these quarterback battles at Ohio State, and you never like to presuppose.
Right.
Because all of a sudden, things happen. 2014, J.T. Barrett's a redshirt freshman. He's content to be basically probably the backup quarterback. And then all of a sudden, Braxton Miller goes down. And the point is about spring and preseason practices this year is they have nobody who's played college football at quarterback. Yes, Lincoln Kienholz has a best forgotten stint in the Cotton Bowl, the worst offensive line performance I've ever seen by Ohio State. He had no chance in that when he went in for Devin Brown. Tavien St. Clair is a freshman, and of course, Julian Sayin played mop-up duty last year a little bit. So, like I said, it's tough to presuppose who's really going to emerge from this thing.
Right, and we've been through them over the years. You mentioned the Braxton Miller, Cardale Jones, J.T. Barrett. That was one. I remember another one with Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow, and Tate Martell. And a lot of Ohio State fans at the time liked Tate Martell. And the other two guys go on to be first-round picks in the NFL draft. So, there's a long way to go. This one is entertaining, I think, like you said, Tim, because we haven't seen them play. Tavien, you haven't seen him play at college level.
Right.
Julian Sayin, you haven't really seen play. And, Lincoln, I don't evaluate him based on that start at all because that was a shell of.
Well, it wasn't a start. He took the place of Devin Brown, but
comes in for
might
Devin
as well
Brown.
have been a start.
Right. And people wanted to see him play. You mentioned to him today as well. You're talking about a kid that played all the sports. You said all the sports in Washington. That they
no, here, South Dakota.
South Dakota, Washington. I get them mixed up.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's okay, man.
But
most people do.
They have all those sports in both states. But he's a guy that we just haven't seen play a lot of football.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but he's been in the system. He's been in the system longer. That's what's interesting. He's the more interesting guy in this race, I think, than others, because he's the one I think that can really jump up this spring and show them that he's developed the arm they want. He's up from 185 pounds when he first showed up from South Dakota. Now, what he said, 211. I mean, that's almost 30 pounds he's gained. He looks like it. Beforehand, he looked like a baseball player playing football. Now he looks like a football player. I mean, a quarterback. Hey, real quick though, before we go, I just want to get your take, because of course we're focusing on the quarterback. Will Howard was the best quarterback in the country last year. The last 4 games of the year, nobody played better than he did, obviously, and stuff. Those are huge shoes to fill. Is it pretty interesting, though, what Ohio State has done over the last many years, having a quarterback for no more than 2 years as a starter since J.T. Barrett?
Well, and the pressure of playing here versus the production, you can complain and know how scrutinized the position is, but when you look at Kyle McCord and Will Howard the last 2 years, you're talking about 3,600 yards, 30-some touchdowns, an average, and just 8 interceptions a year. But it's the interceptions, when do they happen? I was talking to Bobby Carpenter, he's standing right over there, about that. He said that's what we evaluate at Ohio State, is when those interceptions happen at the critical time. So, but look at this run of quarterbacks since JT, really. JT was a record-setting quarterback. You go into, you had Braxton Miller and his tremendous athletic ability, and then you get a couple NFL guys in there.
Dwayne Haskins Jr.
50 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Justin Fields, an NFL starter this year, probably with the Jets, and then Kyle and Will. So I think.
Well, you left out C.J. Stroud.
Well, I left him out too. Also an NFL starter.
Yeah, also pretty good.
But what do we judge those guys on? Can they run this offense? You've got so much talent around. I saw, another thing that stood out today is Brian Hartline's intensity.
Oh yeah.
How intense he is.
A new day has dawned at offensive coordinator.
Right, and so when you're throwing to those receivers, it's not just don't mess it up. It's play at that high level, high standard that we have.
Yeah. Hey, one other thing I wanted to ask you. You're sitting here watching. We don't get to watch all the practices, obviously, but very few. This is rare days. But the way practice has evolved now, where they've got 2 total different units when they're doing that little install stuff. For example, before they, really got into practice, they were running 2 different things offensively at the same time. They have 3 quarterbacks throwing in certain drills at exactly the same time, so you get exactly the same amount of reps as the other guy. Now they can't do that with every play and stuff, but it is amazing what they kind of jam into like a 2.5 hour session anymore.
The mental reps are so important. You hear, your eyes can glaze over when you hear attention to detail, nose command of the offense, those kind of things, but this is what that's for.
Yeah.
You hear you're getting ahead basically for fall. And I think that is amazing how competitive this environment is, even for what you would say it's just a spring practice, who cares? But you can see the intensity level. I always say when you come to Ohio State, you see from this goal line to this goal line, 200 people?
Yeah.
Recruits, reporters, high school coaches. Bumped into Brad Birchfield, who's the new Hilliard Darby football coach and a really good guy here this morning. It was good to talk to him. So it is an event every time you come out here to Ohio State.
And that's the other thing before we get done here, the scrutiny these quarterbacks are under, like I was talking to Julian Sayin about it, and is you're being watched 24/7 by somebody.
All the time.
And the coaches are judging you. Like I wanted to ask Billy Fessler if he's even taking into account whose thumbprint goes on the thumbprint pass machine first every morning. You know what I mean? Because they're all trying to show their leaders. They're all trying to show they're competitive. But the bottom line is it comes down to who is competitive, but who makes the fewer mistakes and makes the plays, right? I mean, we could talk about all this other stuff, but it's got to be that, right?
Right. Yeah, and I thought Coach Fessler's answer was very interesting about, well, they're looking at the mental makeup part in high school because they know what this job is. It is,
right.
I would argue, most pressure-packed job in college football. It used to be Notre Dame quarterback. You could say it's Alabama quarterback 5 years ago. I think it's here now.
Yeah.
When you're the quarterback at Ohio State, because you're not just competing for a national championship, you're going for, like we said, all those NFL quarterbacks and the Michigan thing. It's all on top of it. You have
The
to
Michigan thing.
You've got, can I say that in here? I don't
Oh,
know
yeah,
if I'm
you're
allowed to say
allowed,
that in
yeah.
here. But that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's all wrapped into your legacy as an Ohio State quarterback. So I thought he had a very interesting answer to that. Are they going to be tough? Are they going to be smart? How do you judge that now? They're never going to tell us who's going to start right now. It's
Right.
funny somebody asked, but
Well, that's what I did at the beginning, just for
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, and the answer was what you would expect from a coach, but very interesting to see those three. And when we get into the fall, I'm sure we'll find out who that guy is, and those little things, the details, will be the difference.
Bill Bender from the Sporting News.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me again, man. Hey, I owe you lunch at Cracker Barrel.
No, let's not. We can do that whenever. I always enjoy coming on here. Glad to see you again for another season. Let's do it.